The Olympic weightlifters are probably eating 250 grams of protein per day. I think that an average healthy adult should be thinking in the 100 to 130 range.
For a regular person who isn't too active, because it will be different, obviously, if somebody is into resistance training or they're doing a lot of sports, what does a regular person, and how often should a regular person be consuming protein throughout the day? Because I've been told by other people that ideally you should be consuming protein with every meal.
And I'm actually guilty of creating that theory. So a lot of people now think about protein as 30 grams or more at 3 meals per day, and that's actually directly from my research. So I'm guilty of that. What we know is that when you're young and growing, your protein per day is the main issue. When you have it, doesn't seem to matter much. So a child who gets up and has a breakfast with 8 or 10 grams of protein, has some more at lunch, has some at snack, has some at dinner, that seems to be fine. The distribution doesn't matter. What we know is when you stop growing and you get into your 40s and later, that first meal, when you come out of an overnight fast, appears to be really critical. So we think that first meal, and people translate that and say breakfast. I carefully use the word first meal. I don't necessarily care whether it happens at 7 in the morning or 11 in the morning, but when you eat that first meal, it should be protein rich. We know from a lot of things, a lot of diabetes research, a lot of obesity research, that having the first meal of the day higher in protein and lower in carbohydrates is good for muscle health and also overall metabolism. In the United States, we tend to eat just the opposite. We tend to have carbohydrate-rich breakfast, low in protein, and we have dinners that are high in protein and lower in carbohydrates. So in general, I think the research and certainly my feeling about it is that we need to switch that. We need a higher protein at breakfast. The data for the middle meal in the day is very vague. We don't really know. A lot of people have translated our research into an even distribution through the day. I don't think that's as important as having a larger meal at the beginning and the end of the day. And by larger, I usually tell people we're looking at like 40 grams or more at the beginning and the first and last meals.
So throughout the course of the day, from the first meal of the day right through to the end of the day, ballpark, are we talking maybe 100 grams, 150 grams of protein for your average person, your average adult?
So we've done a lot of research with overweight adults, sort of between 40 and 65. We find that metabolic stability and muscle protection, we get it at around 100 grams. If they go below 100 grams, we find they lose a lot of their protection. You'll see a lot of bigger individuals or bigger athletes going into the 150, 180, maybe even 200 grams per day. I think that's excessive. I'm not a big fan. While I'm a protein person, I'm not a big fan of huge amounts. But again, you have to think about your goal. Is your goal to be a healthy adult, or is your goal to win an Olympic medal in weightlifting? Those are two different individuals, and they probably are going to target different things. The Olympic weightlifters are probably eating 250 grams of protein per day. I think that an average healthy adult should be thinking in the 100 to 130 range.
For active people who are engaging in sport or running or whatever it is, cycling, swimming, I believe ingesting protein after the session, there is a particular window during which it's advised to ingest some protein. Is this true? And if so, how much? And where is that window? Or have I read that incorrectly?
Once again, I'm guilty for initiating that research. So when we were studying the whole regulation of muscle protein synthesis, this is getting a little more technical. We regulated at two different levels. We regulate at the gene level, which is called transcriptional, and we regulated at the sort of molecular level, which is called translational. What we know during the overnight fast is we're down regulating the body at the translational level, at that molecular level. So we wanted a way to study that. How could we make the body sort of like it was after a 12-hour overnight fast? How could we do it immediately? And we used exhaustive exercise. And so we looked at that, and then we gave protein right afterwards. And what we showed was that if you do exhaustive exercise, you'll downregulate, you'll make muscle catabolic. It's breaking itself down. And it'll stay that way until you eat protein. So we got the idea that we could give protein right after exercise and recover. That's got translated into the muscle world, and all athletes now are working out and taking. And what people need to recognize is this is only true in exhaustive exercise and untrained individuals. So if you are doing routine exercise and you're totally trained to do it, I don't think there's any particular window for protein after exercise. So whether you have it in the first 30 minutes or whether you have it at your next meal 3.5 hours later, I think the net for the day is the same. So people and trainers have overextended the research that was done in untrained, exhaustive exercise to what regular workouts would do, and that's not true.
If you enjoyed that video, I know you'll get some value from this video right here.